Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to Apex Racing TV's coverage of the IMSA Sportscar Championship here at the fabulous Autodrome in Nazione in Monza. My name's Scott Newton, and my partner in crime, co-commentator Daniel Leet, will be joining us a little bit in time. He's just sorting out a couple of things, but yeah, I hope everyone's doing well. Got a two split field here. Saw that roughly about 60 entries signed up for this 8:45 GMT race, so which is a spectacular turnout for this series, and certainly looking forward to covering the action today. See that qualifying is just commencing at this very time. We've got about 4 minutes left of qualifying. I see that the first times are coming in right now. I see that Black Neck's currently put on the provisional pole at the moment. Leonard Dirksen is provisional pole sitter in GTE. But yeah, just quickly going to go through the weather for today's race. Yeah, so currently here at Monza, we're using the Grand Prix layout. Currently it is 27 degrees ambient, 45% humidity. Clear sky with a 10 km/h wind, so should be some quite interesting battling, I think, between the classes today. So it's a bit unfortunate there's only one Daytona prototype here today, but unfortunately that's the way it is. Having said that, though, with the field of GTE and GT3, certainly not going to detract from the racing today. Having said that, just looking at Black Neck, coming around the parabolic right now, on his second time lap, we'll see whether he improves on a 1 minute 41.07. And he didn't improve on a 1 minute 41.3, so yeah, so there's no improvement for him, but it's still holding the overall pole position. Looking at Corey Ott at this current time, he's sitting 5th in GTE as Fraser Williamson goes to the provisional GTE pole position. But yeah, Corey coming out of the second Lesmo right now. Just going to go on board quickly with him. Through Ascari right now, taking a lot of that curb on the inside there. Trying to use as much as the curb as we can. And the exit of the Ascari chicane. It's a fairly solid run for him out of that corner there. It's carrying up to the parabolic and now hard on the brakes, trying to get the car turned in. Does a fairly solid job of running out wide there. Or looks as though they almost got the off track, but manages to hold on. And as he crosses the line now, will he improve? He does to 1 minute 45.16, but doesn't improve on position. So a solid improvement there for Corey, but unfortunately not able to gain any more positions. In the GT3 field, currently got Timu Toika, currently on the provisional pole position. He's already completed his allocation of laps. I think he's just having a slow in lap. But having said that, I'm just looking for any other cars in the field. Daniel Andrews, okay, looking to put in his first time lap, and it'll be his only time lap for the session. Looks as though it was invalidated, as there was no time displayed for Andrews, so he will have to start right back in the 20th position. But yeah, as qualifying's pretty much wrapped up, I'm going to take you through the starting grid here for round number 4 of the IMSA Sportscar Championship here at Monza. So Blakeneck takes the overall pole position for Alpine Stars Geodesic Racing on a 1 minute 41.074. Alongside him and the pole position in GTE, Fraser Williamson for Team Bushwick Racing on a 1 minute 44.89. Alongside him is Timo Kuha in second place. In third in the GTEs is Leonard Dirksen, Richard Gafenku in 5th overall, Troy Maguire in 6th, 7th is Corey Ott, Philip Fryman in 8th, Alexander Puvchuk in 9th, and Axel Ayer is running out the overall top 10. Teddy Leloup in 11th, Frank Fortsman in 12th, Ingemar Anderson in 13th, Vili Corpi in 14th, Jonathan Barrera and Yuki Terrell in the 8th row, Eric Remvik in 17th, and Zaid El Mustafa in 18th, and that rounded the GTE field. In the GT3 field, Timu Tsuka takes the pole position, Alan Holgerson in the second place for GT3, Michael Davies, Chris Matthews, Sebastian Texia in the 23rd position overall, Jose Fernandez in 24th, Peter Kelly, Daniel Andrews, Christian Madsen, Joe Marlin, and Javier Lopez rounding out the field. As yeah, Blake is about to lead the field out on the pace lap. It's a very short pace lap, so it won't be too long before the green flag will be running. Just for anyone that wants to update the info for the Apex overlay, I see that Fraser's put a post in the chat that there is a link to the spreadsheet in the forums, or you can PM me on Discord. That's probably the easiest way to update your information. Just to let you know, there is a post on the iRacing forums in the IMSA Sportscar section, and you'll find all the information there. But yeah, as Blake's coming around the final corner waiting for the pace car to come through and take to the pit lane. So, yeah, and we're underway, so yeah, Blakeneck's, it's a good start, but he's then the DP in the field. But yeah, Fraser Williamson, looking at GTEs right now, he's got a storming start. He's managed to pull a 0.3 of a second gap at the moment over the field at the moment, but yeah, going side by side into turn 1, going 2x2 is not necessarily the best way. Or we've got a car Ferrari off, but yeah, that's certainly unfortunate for that driver. I see who that was in a replay, but yeah, it looks as though that most of the cars have got through unscathed. Looking at GT3 at the moment, see the GTE waiting for the field to go past. It looks as though that was Eric Remvik that was involved in that. So an unfortunate mistake for him. But having said that, GT3 field's gotten away pretty cleanly. Which is great to see. Turning back to GTE. At this field, looks as though that Richard Gafenku has got quite a sizable gap to the P2 of Timo Kuha. Not sure what's happened there, but whether he's had a mistake and had to check up, which has caused this gap between P3 and P2. Having said that though, relatively unscathed first lap. But yeah, just going to have a quick look to see what the relative split for GTE and GT3. There's a bit of contact there between Froman and Maguire through the parabolica there, which is going to allow Corey Ott to make a run through onto the front straight, and they're not going to go 3 wide. It looks as though that Corey's got a solid run. Whether he's going to force the issue, we don't know, but it looks as though he's going to follow in behind Troy Maguire into the turn 1. I see that the BMW behind Pivchuk right at the back of Corey Ott, so it's a little bit of a mistake there for Alexander there, just missing his braking point there, but getting through there unscathed. Yeah, this battle for, I would say, third in GTE all the way back to the 11th place in GTE is pretty hard fought at the moment. I'm just going to have a quick look at the battle for 9th overall. Alexander Pivchuk and Teddy Leloup very, very close at the moment. Just going to go on board at the moment with Leloup. See what he can do at the moment. He's got a solid run out of the Oscar chicane, but looks as though that Alexander's got an even better run, but he's even closer to the Ferrari of Axel Air. I know that the Ferraris are very, very quick in a straight line, as evidenced by the GT World Championship at Spa. It's another track that favours the Ferrari quite heavily as well, with the long straights. Having said that though, Alexander putting all sorts of pressure on Axel Air at the moment, but he's managing to hold on at the moment. It's looking a bit further up at the moment. Battle for 4th in GTE is that Philip Fryman trying to go down the inside of Troy Maguire into the De La Roger chicane, not managing to pull it off, but having to fall back into line. It's actually good to see a great mix of GTEs. I know that the field might be a little bit dominated by Ferraris, but it's good to see a good mix of cars out there. Actually, I'm quite surprised to see no Porsches, to be fair, but that's a car that's fairly used in this series. They might be in the second split, sadly, but having said that though, the action here is certainly top notch at the moment. We've got Mustafa and Fortsman at the moment trying to go side by side through Iscari chicane, and it looks as though that Fortsman's been able to pull that off. We've got the GT3 leader of Timu Toika trying to go through the GTE back of the field. See whether he's successful in that. See that is that Michael Davies trying to put pressure on Timu Toika as well. See if we can go on board with Alan Olgerson, so that Michael Davies is trying to get alongside, but sadly hasn't got the draft as Toika's going defensive. But yeah, he's having to tread very, very carefully through the backfield of the GTE. Is taking the sensible option of having to wait in line. Yeah, Holgerson's very, very close at the moment. He's only 0.2 of a second behind Davies at the moment, but he's not far enough alongside to challenge at the moment. So last lap time for Holgerson of a 47.6. Compare that to Davies of a 47.7. So marginal gains there for Holgerson last time around, but given the fact that there was a little bit of traffic to contend with, we'll just have to wait and see whether these GTEs are able to pull away. See that Davies has took a massive amount of curb through that first part of Ascari there. Certainly don't want to be taking too much of that curb, otherwise it might damage the floor or might unsettle the car. But yeah, as I come around to start lap number 4 for the GTE 3s and also GTE, I see that Blake Neck's already cruised out to a 19-second overall lead at the moment. But, you never know, James. Yeah, with the nature of, as I said, that Davies and Holgerson are able to get through Fortsman at the moment, so whether Frank's struggling due to the damage that he has on his car, but yeah, it's a bit of a forceful move there from the GT3 of Holgerson and Davies, but yeah, that promotes them up to 16th and 17th overall. Certainly trying to get back up to Timu Toika. It's currently a 1.3 second gap to between the GT3 leader and the battle for second in GT3. So that Holgerson's got a solid run through their second Lesme there. Having said that, though, certainly not able to pressure Davies at this time. But looking further back up the field, it looks as though that battle for 6th and 7th overall is very, very hot at this time. I see that Corey's managed to go around the outside of Philip Fryman in the final corner, but yeah, with the draft of the two in front, trying to go 2x2 into turn 1, looks as though that they've made a sensible choice of going single file, and Gafenku's holding off Troy Maguire at the moment. Axel Ayer and Alexander Pivchuk neck and neck at the moment. Battle is 0.2 of a second between those two drivers. Seeing that the BMW got a little bit out of shape through the De La Rosa chicane, and that's opened up the gap to about 0.7 of a second. Just having a look at the GTE lead at the moment. Williamson getting all sorts of pressure put on by Timo Kuha. Just going to see if we can go on board. Timo. Looks as though that Kuha got a solid run out of the Parabolica. Having said that, though, just looking at the top end speed of Fraser, Williamson is pretty solid at the moment. I think Kuha is just in a safe fuel mode at the moment. He's just trying to maybe potentially get an extra lap or two out of the fuel tank. Certainly expecting the pit window to be open right now, and that'll be open all the way up until about the 35 minute mark. But yeah, Kuha just sensibly staying in line. taking a massive amount of curb on that second part of Del Roger. Yeah, this 5-way scrap at the moment for third place in GTE has been pretty much been going on since right at the start of the race. So, it seems as though that Gafenko is potentially the cork in the bottle, but yeah, Corey Ott putting all sorts of pressure on Troy Maguire at the moment, both for GTEs. Corey's going down the inside at the moment. He's getting a little bit of a push from Philip Fryman, trying to go 3 wide, but yeah, it's not going to work. And Corey goes down the inside, and that will promote him up into 4th place in GTE. A great move for him, but he'll be all under attack from the 2 drivers behind. He'll have to go defensive, but it looks as though that Troy's got the run on the inside. Going deep under brakes, Troy, and successfully makes the move. A great move there for Troy. That'll promote him back up into 4th. So that Philip Fryman making a little bit of a mistake on the exit of the Rettifilio chicane. Trying to get up the inside, but yeah, Corey sensibly covers that off, having to leave space on the outside. Fryman trying to... Fryman making a little bit of a mistake, and that allows Axel air. And Alexander down the inside at the first Lesmo. He'll go side by side into the second Lesmo. Oh, you don't want to go too wide through there, but yeah, that's going to give Axel air the run out of the second Lesmo, and he'll stay ahead. He'll have to go super defensive. But yeah, it looks as though that Alex has got the inside run. Yeah, this battling is going to certainly cost them time. And yeah, Axel just runs a little bit wide. On the last part of Ascari. Just looking a little bit further forward. Corey Ott. The gap has opened up to about 1.2 seconds to Troy Maguire, so must have had a little bit of a mistake through the middle part of the lap. See that Corey lost about 7 tenths through the second sector last time, and about half a second through turn 1 as Fryman moves up into 5th place in GTE. See that Timo Kuha has been promoted up into the lead of GTE. I'll see whether I can find that quickly. But yeah, the battle for the lead in GTE at the moment must have been... this overtake must have been within the last lap or two. Seeing if I can find it. Okay. So here we are on replay. It looks as though it's just a classic textbook move into turn 1. See that Kuha got a solid exit out of the Parabolica and using that slipstream to full advantage. Very, very close through the start-finish line, but yeah, Kuha gets the overtake done, and fantastic move for him. He'll find himself in 1st place. So yeah, side by side for Fryman and Corey Ott. So that Corey's got the run, but yeah, with that inside line for Fryman, he'll have to go deep under brakes to to get the inside pass, but yeah, Corey does a fantastic job. And what's happened to Troy? He must have made a bit of a mistake, or whether that's a slowdown penalty that he's obtained through cutting the first chicane. He'll have to be sensible about this one. But yeah, Troy managing to only lose one place, so certainly damage limitation for him throughout that first part of the lap. So yeah, I'd just like to welcome in Daniel Leet, co-commentator on ApexRacingTV.
Yeah, good evening. Good evening, Scott. Yeah, all the viewers out there as well. Great racing going on so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly got some epic battles throughout the lead. See that battle for the podium position at the moment, as I see that Fraser Williamson's just retaken the lead from Timo Kuha. That gap opening up to about 6 tenths of a second, maybe 7 tenths of a second. Whether that was just a small mistake from Kuha that's allowed Williamson to pounce on that, or whether that was just the line that was compromised for Kuha that allowed the Ferrari of Williamson to get the traction out of the first chicane. But yeah, there's certainly been some great action throughout the first part of the first half of this race.
Yeah, I came in and I saw some interesting passes going on earlier, just with Timo when he did the little cheeky cut across into turn one and took the position there. But Timo and Fraser putting on a great show for the lead of the race in the GTLM class at the moment. I think we're showing a little bit of action earlier, or just before that too, with Corey and Richard as well. Those guys were going fantastic, and as we've seen now, some great battling in the GT3 category.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the overall GT3 lead battle at the moment. They're only separated by about 1.2 seconds for this battle here, so it's certainly been close the whole step of the way. I see that they've been fighting a couple of GTEs throughout the way, but having said that though, all three Mercedes staying within that draft range.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's great to see some Mercedes slowly making their way up the field. It seems to be sort of the form car still in GT3 at the moment. It'd be nice to get some variety with the Audis and the Ferraris back up there, but still have three cars this close together. What are we now, 12 laps into this race, or 20 minutes for the guys watching at home. Is fantastic. Big key that they'll still be working on is that great opportunity to overtake coming down into turn one. As you can see, Michael with a great toe here on the back of Timu. Didn't quite have the legs to get it done, and Alan behind him coming in really late under brakes there.
Yeah, absolutely. That mistake's going to cost him about a half a second to Davies. See that gap's opened up to about 1.0 to 1.1 seconds. So yeah, that's probably going to cost him potentially the draft, I'd say, which is an unfortunate mistake for Holgerson, as he will be certainly looking to close back up as well, but also potentially fuel safe to get the undercut as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Monza is one of those tracks where being able to utilise the draft and remain in it is key to getting forward. And with Timo and Michael sort of being able to stretch the gap a little bit, that'll help him. Alan's kind of come back a fraction now. He's only 8 tenths behind Michael, so working to close that gap down. But the hard part's now going to be coming onto the back straight and off corners onto the front straight there, he's just not going to have that toe and be able to range up on the back of him. But he should be able to get himself back into draft, looking at the way he's positioning this car right now.
Yeah, just going to have a look at the speeds achieved for Davies. You can see he's getting up pretty close to about 270 kilometers an hour coming into the Parabolica. See that Toika's using that full extent of that runoff on the outside there of the Parabolica. See what Davies can achieve in terms of top speed. See that Anderson and Leloup have overtaken Axel Air. I'm not sure whether he's had a little bit of a disconnect or... sorry, no, he's actually in the pit lane. So first to blink for the GTE and also Fortsman as well. So yeah, the pit window is certainly open right now. Certainly didn't expect it to be this early, but having said that though, those drivers might be potentially trying alternative strategies to see whether they can gain any positions from where they are.
Yeah, definitely, and there's always time to be gained on a fresh set of tyres. You know, it doesn't matter what car you're in, whether it be DP, GT or GT3. Fresh rubber on any circuit is a gift that all the drivers want. The hard point is managing how far do you push those new tyres and then look at the fall-off that's going to come after it, and how much is that fall-off then going to hurt you later on in these races. I think some of the guys a little further down, probably the smart move at the moment, stick with the tyres they've got, watch the guys up the front start coming in, put on those fresh set of tyres at the back end of the race and look to use that advantage later on.
Yeah, absolutely. Just got to look a little bit further up the field. The closest battle in GTE at the moment we've got is the battle for the 5th place in GTE. Troy Maguire and Philip Fryman. See that pretty much everyone in GTE has opened up a little bit of a gap. So it's roughly about 1 second on the closest gaps, and then it's roughly averaging about 2.5 seconds gap between each of the other drivers. So it seems as though that everyone's found their groove and managing to stay out of trouble at this time, even though that it's 27-degree ambient track temp. Ambient was roughly about a 40 to 41 degree track temperature.
Yeah, which is still quite hot. And I mean, it wasn't that long ago, a couple of laps ago, to be honest, really. We saw Corey Ott sort of caught back with this group with Troy and Philip. So Corey's been able to extend that lead. I think he's now about 4.5 seconds up the road from these guys. But I'm loving the livery of the JPS car that Troy's running at the moment, and seems to still have a little bit of pace advantage over Philip in the Ferrari.
Yeah, absolutely. I was actually expecting the Ferrari to be fairly dominant here. See that the spread of makes in this field today, especially in GTE, has been heavily dominated by Ferraris. But as you can see, Ferrari's in the top 3 at the moment, as Kuya's in the pit lane. Also saw that Davies in the GT3 category has taken to the pit lane as well, so he's trying to attempt the undercut to see whether he can get ahead of Timu Toika.
Yeah, definitely, and we're coming up now on about 20 minutes to go in the race, so probably not a bad place to sort of really be looking to put on those fresh rubber and go on with it. The guys ahead maybe looking now while they're on the hot stuff at the moment, maybe just trying to extend as best they can or increase a bit of lap time somewhere around this circuit, which, given it's simple in design and layout with a few straights here and there and the chicanes, the precision required on the brakes to get through those chicanes is really going to be interesting to see what they can do with it as the tyre wear does start to come up.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just trying to get the track map at the moment. Hang on. So David's coming around the final corner now. So whether he's actually going to jump Toika and Holgerson. They're just coming out of the pit lane. It was also so that Blake Neck's taken to the pit lane as well. So Davies is going to go through 1, but he's not going to get Toika. So pretty much battle resumes as they were before the pit. Or was a bit of contact there from Holgerson on Davies. Just trying to get that traction down, but yeah, with Davies not being on the throttle, certainly caused that little bit of contact, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, but it doesn't look like it's impacted the cars at all. A little bit of a tap there. They both we saw him readdress a little bit with Alan there. They were able to separate and get on, so that shouldn't be too much of an issue. I think it was a little bit awkward with watching where Blake came out of the pits as well, just around those GT3 cars, having to try and make their way. We've got a couple of lap cars just ahead from Sebastian Tiexa, just ahead of this group as well. He still hasn't pitted yet, so he should be in pretty soon as well, but looks like the guys should be able to run past him.
Yeah, so that's Tiexa is just getting overtaken at the moment for the lead in GT3, but obviously he's out of sync, so I would expect that he will fall down about 40 seconds. Sorry, 40.
Yeah.
Yeah, about 40 seconds, 45 seconds behind this battle, which would put him still in 4th. Gap to the GT3 behind Sebastian is about 1 minute behind. So certainly not going to lose any positions, but as I think he might be taken to the pit lane right now, which he does.
Yeah, we see him dive in now. He's not going to be where he wants to. He'll still have probably about a 20-second gap overall to the next guy, Peter Kelly, just behind him. But if anything, it kind of opened the door here for Alan to get a look in, which we see him coming down inside of Michael into turn 1 there. Great drive, and gets that job done. And now he starts looking at Timo ahead. Michael's going to still fight him back here, but on the outside, especially on the way up to the next set of chicanes, it's going to make it very hard for him to get past.
Yeah, absolutely. Going to Curva Grande right now. Davies trying to get the run using that slipstream, but yeah, he's certainly alongside him now. Hard on the brakes they go. Going too wide through here is not ideal. It's going to cost him time, but yeah, Holgerson managing to defend the position there. Potentially a little bit of contact through the middle of the chicane there, but yeah, it seems as though that Holgerson's through.
Yeah, it did look like Michael had to check up just a touch. I mean, it's very hard to run 2 cars wide through there. I think they did an amazing job to get them through reasonably unscathed, if anything. Timu is going to be laughing now. Extended that gap. He's up overall now. What do we got? A 2-second gap to the guys just behind him. So if anything, it's played out perfectly for him. He can sort of watch his mirrors and gauge this position now. But Michael's still hanging in there for a chance to get back past him.
Yeah, absolutely. Just going to take a little bit look further back up the field. Going to give you a bit of an onboard look at Blake Neck as he's about to start lap number 18. Just got a little bit of traffic ahead, but certainly putting in those fast lap times. Last lap time of 1 minute 43.0. But yeah, so consistently in the 43s on high 42s.
Yeah, and this will really give the viewers a good understanding of where this DP car is so fast around here and what it's like getting through this traffic. So for all the guys watching now, enjoy the That was a fantastic lap there from Blake Neck in the geodesic DPI around Monza here, and while we were on board with that lap, we saw a lot of the remaining cars in GTLM come in, and now that we've had the reshuffle of that, we probably should go through a quick run through just for the guys watching for the top 3 positions in GTLM. Fraser Williams leading that again, Timo Klar just behind him, and then Richard Gafishi just behind as well, and that top 3 cars currently separated by 4.5 seconds at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks as though that Fraser's actually opened up that gap. I saw that he had roughly about a 2.4 second gap before the pit stop last time around. So he's actually managed to have a good outlap and open it up to about 2.9. Which is great for him. Certainly consolidating his lead at the moment. We've got about 12.5 minutes to go as he crosses the line.
Yeah, so he's really got a great gap to play with now. Doesn't have to overly push the car the remaining race. Just basically look after the tyres, deal with a little bit of lap traffic as he goes ahead. He's got a couple of cars just ahead of him. It looks like a GT3, and I think there was a Porsche I saw getting around further up the road. But basically now it's his race in the GTLM to lose.
Yeah, absolutely. Just looking a little bit further back, we've got Mustafa and is it Anderson battle for 9th and 10th over in the GT class. See that gap's actually closed up quite a lot. 3/10 from Mustafa gained on the last time around, so he'll be putting all sorts of pressure on Anderson. See that Anderson's run that little bit wide and hasn't been able to get the traction down, which has allowed Mustafa to close up quite a lot. As they're going through Curva Grande right now, will he be able to challenge into the De La Rocha chicane? Probably not, as Anderson defends on the inside there. See that Blake Neck trying to navigate through this traffic as well. But yeah, this battle's certainly hotting up, to say the least. We've still got, yeah, just under 11 minutes to go now.
Yeah, definitely. And if you're smart, you probably want to be the second car in this train here, especially with the likes of Blake coming through. Use him to your advantage. If you can, just tuck in sneakily under the draft. He's right up the back of the Ferrari at the moment, so could use this to an advantage. If they aren't able to get it played right, it looks like Blake's just going to let this battle rage on here. I think that's all kind of been negated now. Smart move from Blake just to let it slide, and he's got the pace outright to get past these guys coming up to the back straight here now.
Yeah, absolutely. With the prototype of Blake Neck, that's allowed Mustafa to actually go through on Anderson. So great move there from Mustafa to take advantage of that slipstream that was provided by the prototype, and that's allowed him to move up into 9th into the GTE and 10th overall.
Yeah, definitely. We will see the draft starting to come back into effect now under brakes. The gap dropping from half a second to 0.3 of a second just there. Traction for both cars out of the first chicane looked really similar between both of them, and that gap's just sort of hovering around that 0.4 of a second right now.
Yeah, just going to go on board quickly with Anderson, just to see where, from his point of view, he's going deep under brakes and he's going to pull it up, but that was a late move, and yeah, Mustafa saw that coming, but I think is going to redress that, which is a fair move, I'd say, but yeah, certainly one that I wasn't expecting to see, but yeah, it was great driver reactions from both of the drivers there.
Yeah, it was certainly a very bold move to try and go down the inside there. Great awareness for both of them to let that one go, and the readdress at the end there basically gets these guys back into position.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, that certainly hurt Anderson with the gap opening up to about 0.6 of a second. But with him in the draft at the moment, certainly closing up. Just in this straight from the exit of the Ascari chicane to the the parabolic is closed up about that 10th and a half. So, having said that though, with Mustafa getting a solid run out of the parabolica, that gap's maintained at about 0.7.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he'll be able to get the move done this time by. Maybe look to shorten up that gap as he comes in really hard under brakes there. So if he can maintain the closeness, he might get a good shot up into second set of chicanes, but I'd be looking to see maybe just work on that, aim for another solid run down the front straight again into the first set of chicanes for the next overtaking.
Absolutely. We see that Mustafa just locking the brake there, just a touch, and that's allowed Anderson to close a little bit further up. Still holding it about. Oh, the GT3! Oh, I missed that. Whether that was a lap car, I'm not sure. Actually, I'll have to have a look at that quickly. See whether we can get a bit of a replay on that. It's, Peter Kelly, I think, actually trying to go. Actually, no, it wasn't Peter Kelly. Sorry for that. Yeah, I actually can't find that at the moment. So yeah, it's just an unfortunate that Mustafa found that GT3, and that's promoted Anderson back up into the 9th place in GTE.
Yeah, not what you want to see. Looks like they have been able to get, actually, looks like we're still going back here, but the gap is still increasing. He's dropped to the pace of it 2.5 seconds now as a result of that, so kind of has hurt his race a little bit at the end, but it does look like maybe a little further up, it was actually Kelly, as we retained just on this replay here, who was involved through was it just into the Lesmos there by the looks of it?
Just looking back up to the 2nd place in GTE. This battle's closed right up. Gafenku's actually closed quite nicely up into the back of Timo Kuha. So good to see that Gafenku's managed to close up, putting all sorts of pressure on the Ferrari ahead. The gap at the moment is about 0.4 of a second at the moment.
Yeah. Yes, it wasn't that long ago. That gap was quite a lot wider, so Timo's going to have to be pretty aware. Obviously, what's coming behind him in the form of Richard, and Richard's really diving into that.
Yeah, absolutely. Just looking at the top speeds at the moment, Gafenku's got roughly about a 5 km/h advantage in the slipstream, so he'll be using that to his advantage. We see that Timo caught the gravel in the exit there. That's certainly going to hurt him. Certainly not a slowdown penalty of any kind, but whether he caught the first part of the chicane, I don't know. But certainly able to hold the position at the moment. So not sure whether both of them caught the slowdown penalty, but that's very unlikely. Having said that,
yeah,
though,
it's a weird line. It's a weird line to be taking where you haven't received a penalty as a result of that. The only reason I could think you'd run the wide line would be to clear a slowdown, because it does help around this track, but kind of played to the advantage of being able to maintain that outside line and not let him through, but really opening himself up to a lot of fire here from. One thing I have noticed watching both of these cars through the chicane, so they're both very evenly set up on the suspension as well. The cars don't look to be leaping too oddly out of the position. It looks like they're also coming up on our GC3 leader in team.
it's actually going to find out who that is. That is actually... I think that's Actual Air. So it's a car that's quite a few laps down actually. So they're about... Always Gafenku's going down the inside into turn 1. He manages to pull it up, and a great move there from Gafenku to take the second position. Certainly didn't see that coming, but yeah, the slipstream from that Ferrari ahead certainly played to an advantage. Even though it was only a small advantage, but it was the one that he needed to get through into the second place in GTE.
Yeah, definitely. It will make it interesting now as these guys clear the second set of chicanes coming up through the Lesmos here, just to see where they do run onto this GT3 ahead of them. But looked like Richard just got the car a little unsettled there and dropped back. Actually, sorry, there was a change of position there. Richard's back.
So just yeah, looking a little bit further back, see that no, I actually thought this was a battle for GTE 3, sorry, but yeah, it's actually say that Michael Davis just putting a position on Frank Fortsman, so he'll move back up into 15th overall, and still in third in class in the GT3s. See that biggest movers of the field actually. I see that Mustafa's actually gained 7 positions, so he's the actual biggest mover overall in terms of positions. Let's see whether we can get a class. So the biggest mover in GT3 at the moment is Madsen, currently sitting in 21st overall, but having said that, though, 3 positions from where he's started is certainly a great effort. Matthews is sadly the biggest faller down the GT3 field with 4 positions, and he's currently out of the race. In the GTE field, this is Mustafa has gained the most positions with 7 positions gained, so he's had an outstanding race. Currently sitting in 11th, and 11th overall in 10th in class. And Blackneck solo Daytona prototype, he won't have gained or lost any positions throughout the field.
No, that was something we touched on the last race as well. Blake again, I think, was finished being the only solo DPI running around, and we mentioned obviously as of next week we have the change in time zones here in Australia, and the race will be dropping back a little bit later as a result of that. But hopefully that does open up more opportunity for guys to get on board with the DPI, come and race, and actually might see Blake with a couple of new challenges hopefully starting next week.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll just see that Blake next crossed the line with 45 minutes on the clock, so we'll have 1 more lap to go. I think he actually crossed with about probably a few seconds left on the actual timer, so that's forced another lap. But yeah, just the battle in GTE lead has closed right up. I see that Gafenku's closed within striking distance of Williamson. Gap at the moment is about 6.5 tenths of a second, so Gafenku's actually closed right up. He actually gained about 7 tenths last lap, so it'll be very, very close to see whether he can actually make the move.
Yeah, I'm quite surprised to see Fraser's come back to Richard as much as he has. I thought, looking at where he came out after the pit stops, he kind of had the race in the bag there. But as you say, on the final lap for these guys now, and with 2 tenths of a second to play for here, there's not a lot.
Yeah, certainly not to see that Gafenku is looking up the inside, but certainly not able to get the position at the moment. But yeah, we'll have to cut away to the overall leader this time. But yeah, Blake Neck, outstanding drive as always. Sadly, there's been limited competition in the Daytona prototypes, but Blake certainly stepped up to the plate and certainly dominated this race. And yeah, he'll come around the final quarter out of the Parabolica now, and he'll take the round number 4 of the IMSA Sportscar Championship here at Monza. We'll see that I think Richard and Fraser are on another lap, so because they weren't behind Blake, they'll actually have this lap to battle for themselves.
Yeah, that will leave Timu Kwa finishing in 3rd in GTLM. So we'll stay on board with these two because this is going to be a phenomenal race. Final lap here. A little bit of traffic just ahead that'll come into battle as they go. We see Fraser just going a little defensive. Richard certainly showing the nose and intent that he wants to get past here at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Just coming out of the second chicane now. The GT3 gets out of the way sensibly. Good move from him. To notice this battle, and yeah, Gafencu is trying to get the best run out of the second Lesmo. I would think that Williamson's trying to stay to the left-hand side of the track he's actually staying to the middle, so that's preventing the run. But Gafencu looking up the inside, but it's always taking a lot of that curb on the Ascari chicane. That'll hurt him for sure. Trying to get the run through the last part of the lap.
Yeah, it certainly will. It'll leave the final opportunity up here through Parabolic as they get their way up onto the start-finish line. He's closed that gap right down, but if he can't get the traction off here, he may not have the drive to get this.
But yeah, it looks as though that Fraser Williamson's just been able to hold on, so congratulations to him for taking the GT class win. And I see that Timu Toika has crossed the line. It was a little while ago as we were focused on the GT battle. But yeah, he'll take the class win in the GT3.
Well done.
Yeah, that's a phenomenal drive as well from Tomkin there. They drove that car very well. We saw him in a great battle early on with Alan and Michael there as well. And I think he just had the legs to get that car home. So well done.
Yeah, absolutely. Just going to quickly find my mouse so that I can run you through the overall standings for round number 4 of the IMSA Sportscar Championship here at Monza. Okay, so Blake Neck takes the overall win for Alpine Stars GTX Racing. Fraser Williamson for Team Bushfink Racing takes that fantastic win for the GT win. Just behind him was Richard Gafencu for second place, and Timo Kuha in the 4th position. Goriot had a fantastic race, finishing in 4th in GTE and 5th overall. Troy Maguire didn't see much of him in the second part of the race, but yeah, still had a solid finish in 6th overall. Philip Fryman, likewise with the battle that was about 4 or 5 cars deep in the front pack. Alexander Pivchuk in 8th, Teddy Leloup, Ingmar Anderson, Ziad Mustafa, Yuki Terrell, running at the 12th position. The GT3 class winner was Timu Toika. Alan Holgerson finishes in 14th and 2nd in GT3. Michael Davies running out the podium for GT3. Frank Forsman in the 16th position. Vili Korpi in the 17th. Sebastian Tixia was 4th in GT3 and 18th overall. Eric Remvik finishes in 19th. Peter Kelly in 20th. Christian Madsen, Jose Fernandez finishes in 22nd. Jonathan Barrera, 23rd. Lennart Dirksen in 24th. Axel Ayer finishes in 25th. Chris Matthews, Daniel Andrews, Joe Marlin, and Javier Lopez had issues at the very start of the race, and sadly we missed that. But yeah, they were the non-classified finishes.
Yeah, so all in all, I mean, we had some great, fantastic racing brought on from everyone that entered the field. Obviously, we did have a couple of DNFs, as you said, with Chris, Daniel, Joe, and Xavier, which is a bit unfortunate for those guys. But I think the racing we saw tonight in general, Blake Neck again shone from the front. Some great battles at the final end with Richard and Fraser Williams there, and we saw some awesome battling in the GT3s tonight, so I don't think we could have asked for much more from these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially given that the fact that we had a two-split field tonight. I think it was about 57 cars signed up, so certainly had a cracking field tonight. And not to say that the other field wouldn't have provided a similar action, but yeah, we certainly had some fantastic action here today. Just looking to next week, we got the time zone change as well. Daylight savings time in Australia is officially ending for summer 2019. So yeah, we'll be moving back to Australian Eastern Standard Time, and that will push the broadcast forward to the 10:45 GMT time slot, which effectively is 8:45 PM Australian Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah, and hopefully as a result of those time zone changes too, as we were sort of saying towards the back end of the race there, we will hopefully see some more participation, especially from the Australian guys. We've already got quite a few already entered this series, along with some of the Europeans. It'll be probably a lot more favourable to see some more interest from other teams within the Australian iRacing community come on board and take that challenge to some of the European teams as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Just got a few driver interviews today as well. So we'll actually bring up Fraser Williamson, the GT3, the GTE class winner. Welcome, Fraser, to the Apex Racing TV booth. Congratulations on your GTE win here at Monza. Just tell us a little bit about your race. I saw that you had a cracking start to the race, but also there was quite a bit of a train behind you in the early part of the race.
Well, I made that more painful than I had to be quite honest. Every time I broke the draft, got a 2-second gap, either a bit of lap traffic or I would make a mistake, get a slowdown, overdrive a chicane, and all the hard work to try and break the draft would become on. Thankfully, a couple guys behind made some mistakes, and it was just down to me and Richard to come the end.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you say, with the track conditions, I saw that it was 27 degrees out there. How was it in terms of the tyre wear out there today?
The tyre wear wasn't too bad. I hadn't properly tested at all, and I just jumped in with a set from what was for colder conditions. It was a lot looser, less swing, so I'm surprised tyre wear wasn't more of a factor come the end, trying to get traction out of car.
Yeah, absolutely. With the closing part of the race, were you hoping that Blake was actually able to overtake you, preventing that extra lap that you had to do?
Well, it was like 2 seconds away from going one less lap anyway, so it was one of them I noticed just before pit stops that were looking either to go a lap extra, a lap shorter, so it was just one of them. It's how it falls. A lap shorter would have been nice. 5 laps shorter would have been even nicer, because then I wouldn't have had to have battled for the lead. So you can always say it should have been shorter, but it never is.
Yeah, absolutely. Just before we let you go, Fraser, is there anyone that you'd like to thank?
Yep, just the guys in the new team, Timu and Lewis and all the guys, Dovis for helping out. let's see what we can do with it, and you guys for bringing us this morning broadcast.
Yeah, absolutely. So, thanks very much, Fraser, and we hope to see you next round for number 5 of the IMSA Sportscar Championship at Spa. Just a fair warning that the next week will be a time slot change as well, so I certainly hope to see you there.
Well, that's even better. Get away in.
Yeah, absolutely. No worries. Well, thanks very much, Fraser, and we hope to see you next week.
Cheers.
Actually going to bring in Corey Ott quickly. Just like to hand you over to Daniel.
Yeah, g'day, Corey. Congratulations on P5 or 4, sorry, in the GTLM category tonight in the Ford. Give us a bit of a recap on your race, mate. It looked like you had some good battles early on. How did you find overall the race and the?
There we go. It'd be better if I turn my mic on. Yeah, the race tonight was all right. I did the one before, and it was just sorting out where the car was good and bad, and that race was just started a bit further back than I wanted in the field. I had a good boy lap until about the second way through the lap, and nearly screwed it up. But yeah, other than that, it was just to try and get podium, and was just using the draft from the guys in front of me and saving fuel. And yeah, it was a really weird race. Honestly, it didn't look weird, but it was weird. It was just the car felt a bit inconsistent, but it was stable, and yeah, just a 4th place will do, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, we were just speaking to Fraser just before, and we were commenting on, obviously, the track was quite hot tonight, which would have had a little bit of impact on the tyres. How was your feeling with how the tyres held in through the race? And I guess the other thing too is we did notice with the Ferraris, especially getting through the chicanes, they seemed pretty balanced. How did you find the Ford getting through?
Well, some of the chicanes you had to really, especially the second chicane, you had to be sort of conservative on the way you balance the car and the curve, because it doesn't like the curves as much as the Ferrari does. So I was just able to attack the curbs the way I wanted to, but if I went a little bit over, I would, the rear would spin around. And yeah, the Ferraris, I tried the Ferrari before, it does feel really stable over the curves, but the Ford just got that little bit more edge on the straight than what the Ferrari does in my feeling. So
yeah, well, it looked like, from what we could see on the outside of it, without knowing you had those difficulties in the Ford, it looked quite planted out there. So I think it's a testament to how you got the car set up and your driving style around there. So it wasn't a podium, unfortunately, tonight, but congratulations again on 4th. Scotty just mentioned before too, we have got the time slot change going back a little bit later, which might suit you a bit more with the Australian guys coming on to race. So hopefully we'll be able to see you back out on track for Spa next weekend.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'll be out there at Spa, and also as well, it'll help. It'll help a lot of the other guys, bring a lot of other guys in for the broadcast race as well. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we get more Daytona prototypes in the field than what we did the past 4 weeks. So hopefully next week we get a bigger DP field and we get more cars filing into it. Hopefully, get into top split.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we let you go out of here, mate, and go enjoy the rest of the night, we'll get a quick shout out from yourself and some of the guys on board helping you get.
Oh yeah, for sure. A lot of shout outs, I think, go to Pure Driving School. The setups they do for these cars, I just got back trying them. Really good. Go try them out. Yeah, I think that's it.
Fantastic. Well, again, congratulations on 4th tonight, mate, and we'll look forward to seeing you out at Spa next Tuesday.
That's all right. See you guys.
Just going to have one more quick interview. Timo Toika. Yeah, congratulations, Timu, on your GT3 first place. Congratulations on that. Just tell us a little bit about your race. How was the opening battle? I saw that you're in the battle between Alan and Michael throughout I would say the 2/3 of that race. But yeah, just tell us a little bit about your race from your point of view.
Yeah, the battle was great. Alan was was pretty good on pace, and I had a hard time getting away from him, especially around here on Monza. It's a pretty drafty track, so yeah, it was pretty much impossible without the traffic and all that. For the race itself, I just pretty much led the whole way, and it was interesting with the traffic at some point at times, and yeah, I don't know what more to say. In the end, the tires felt pretty burnt out, and I had a hard time keeping it on the track, but happily we made it through and onto the big.
Yeah, absolutely. How close were you to Black Neck at that end of the race? Did you get overtaken quite close to the end of the time, or was there enough of a gap to prevent that extra lap?
Actually, according to Caps, we did the extra lap, but I don't know how accurate that was. But he was. I mean, I had counted in the extra lap just in case, and I ran out of fuel just after the line, and so in that sense, the fuel strategy was pretty perfect, and yeah, just I think I got a bit lucky with that also, and oh yeah, and I got a few slowdowns here and there, but other than that, it was pretty chill race.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we let you go, just let you to give a shout out to your sponsors and whoever gets it done for you.
I'd like to thank our new team, all the guys there, Fraser and Louis and Mike, and yeah, it's let's see what we can do together, and hopefully it's.
No worries. Alright, so yeah, Timu, I hope to see you next week for round number 5 at Spa. Just to let you know that also we have a time slot change to 10:45 GMT, so we certainly hope to see you next week for round number 5.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see you there.
No worries. Alright, well, take care. And sadly, that will be the end of the broadcast. Yeah, just some closing thoughts, Daniel, on today's events here at Monza.
I think there's some great racing all around. Yeah, we saw some phenomenal racing in the GT3 category. We're just hearing in the chat that Michael had a bit of issues, which sort of led to him falling off the pace in that GT3 battle, which was really close towards the middle and back end of that race. Again, Corey brought it up, the time slot change. We're likely to see some really good new influx in competition from some of the guys there. But racing in general was really good. There was no really silly moves. Everyone gave a lot of respect to each other. I guess the final battle that we saw at the end of GT3 with Williamson and Kafisu was fantastic to watch. You know, those guys really turned on a great show at the closing battle.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that, as mentioned, we got the time slot change. So this broadcasted race will actually fall at 10:45 AM GMT or 20:45 Australian Eastern Standard Time. But yeah, just going to quickly run through what we've got coming up on Apex Racing TV over the next week. We have I think it's the BSR MX5 Pro Series at Brands Hatch Indy. We've also got the Dynamics Sim Racers World GT Series at Spa for round number 12. That will be on the Thursday at 20 GMT, round 7 of the European V8 Supercar Championship at Sonoma. That will be on Saturday at 18 GMT. Then on Monday night, we've got the World GT Championship for round number 10 at Barber Motorsports Park, and on Monday evening US time or Tuesday morning, early in the morning, for the IMSA Sportscar Championship for round number 9 at Phillip Island. So, and then once again we'll roll around to the IMSA Sportscar Championship here at which will coincidentally be here at at Spa. So yeah, I thank you very much for tuning in, and I hope you have a safe week, and we hope to see you tune in for round number 5. So on behalf of Daniel Leet, my name's Scott Newton, and yeah, we will catch you for a broadcasting future or for the next round at Spa. Thanks very much.